For Hype Plus News, I'm Terrence Sims. The power structure between talent and executives in Hollywood has always been an unbalanced one, with studio executives consistently feeling the need to police the efforts of those that make their company money. History has shown that Hollywood can take advantage of actors, musicians, comedians, and artists of all levels. The problems continue when new executives show up promising a different reality that has always been presented, but of course, taking advantage of the same people you promised a different future for. Since its inception, BET has garnered criticism, both fair and unfair, in regards to its programming and treatment of black talent. One of the most significant events came in the late 90s when BET and Comic View became the cause of criticism among stand-up comedians after it was revealed that performers on a popular show only received a one-time flat fee of $150. No residuals would be offered if the network re-aired their appearance. Now the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, known as AFTRA, is a union that covers appearance fees for comedians on broadcast networks and stated that a fair wage for that kind of work was $500. Comparatively, HBO's Def Comedy Jam paid comedians between $500 and $800, making a boycott of BET completely necessary and long overdue. Here's why the comedians of Comic View boycotted BET. In 1999, the AFTRA would run an ad in multiple entertainment trade papers complaining about the pay scale for BET's Comic View. They wouldn't stop there, but additionally issued a no contract, no work order which prohibited its members from appearing on the show altogether. Thinking that they could easily find talent to replace the ones boycotting, the stop work order to comedians from the AFTRA caused BET to move the tapings of Comic View from LA to Atlanta, where less experienced comedians were more likely to accept low pay. This was their way of attempting to find talent willing to work after being blocked by the union. This was all according to spokesperson from the AFTRA, Pam Fair. She said the days of performers paying to an audience are over. Not immediately willing to increase wages for comedians, owner of BET, Bob Johnson, said, "Obviously we will take our production to where the people are that want to work with us. That's just business." An old article from Multi-Channel News published this story in September of 1999, and it reported that as a response to the boycotting from the union, the network had re-edited some clips from Comic View sets and making it appear like the comics bombed. Once again, this all came from Fair, according to the article. As the complaints towards BET continued to grow and grow, the network pointed out that it had given breaks to now well-known comedians like D.L. Hugley, the first host of Comic View, Cedric the Entertainer, and Cheryl Underwood. It should be noted that these three comedians also performed on HBO's Def Comedy Jam before Comic View began. A spokesperson from the channel at the time said BET has constantly had to fight to receive equal advertising and subscription rates that are still not in line with comparable rated networks. As stated before, D.L. Hugley was the very first host of Comic View when the series debuted in 1992. When he stopped hosting in 1994, he would enter a lawsuit with the very same network that was once his employer. The reason why? He was sued for the lack of back salary and residual payments for those 2 years. He would elaborate, "We tried everything to make him understand that BET is a multi-million-dollar company now, and it can't fall back on what it did when it was first started. If a mainstream company were treating black people the way BET has and is, it would have been a big mess long before now. But because it's black people mistreating black people, everyone's being hesitant to speak up. But wrong is wrong." Before winning his lawsuit against BET, the comedian would consistently condemn the channel for taking advantage of black comedians while promoting itself as a pro-black business. As a response, BET owner Bob Johnson told Newsweek that black performers cannot expect to earn what their white counterparts do. He would add, "Black talent compares itself to white talent, but that's the wrong comparison because the advertising and support isn't there for African Americans to make the type of money. I'm trying to bring a different economic paradigm to Hollywood, one that produces a product for much less. That way there can be more opportunities for everyone. I'm not seeing a lot of black comics on The Tonight Show. If those same groups of white people sign petitions to NBC and other networks demanding more blacks be put on the air, then we could talk." When you say black talent shouldn't expect to earn as much as their white counterparts, that tells you something about how that company feels about the comics. The way that they treat people now is so wrong. I just don't want to see these young comics exploited like I was. Rumors surrounding BET's treatment of black talent has always been a talking point. In 1999 Newsweek article, Hugley would reveal that he and other former employees were discouraged from bringing lawyers to contract negotiations. They were clear that nothing would happen if I brought one. They know there's nowhere else for blacks to go. BET's attitude is like the fruit and vegetable companies in the Depression that said, fuck anyone who won't work for 10 cents a day. What makes it more socially irresponsible is that it's coming from a black corporation, from people who've probably experienced this type of exploitation themselves. Tommy Davidson. When Newsweek followed up with BET for a comment on telling its talent to avoid attorneys, the network would decline. According to LA Times, it wasn't until August 2000 when the network increased compensation for stand-up comedians. The deal made sure each comedian received $1,000 for appearing on the show, a huge jump from $150, and comedians were required to provide their own transportation and take care of their own lodging. Usually networks cover airfare, hotel rooms, etc. when comedians appear on the shows. It took more than 100 comedians, including the likes of Richard Pryor, Tim Allen, and Jay Leno, to sign an open letter of protest to get the new amount. Cedric the Entertainer showed support not only by signing the open letter, but also declining to host another BET talk show simply due to the then ongoing pay dispute. It shouldn't make any difference what color you are, it just seems unfair. If this was a white network doing this to black performers, you'll see a huge outrage. Now Jay Barnett, who was AFTRA's director of television, spoke on BET's decision to finally increase pay for performers. They can't work around the mainstream, and that's a good thing for the talent. Performers having to advocate for better wages in show business is a story as long as the institution itself. The year 2023 contained 2 Hollywood strikes amongst the actors and writers who petitioned and renegotiated for better pay. With the return of Coming View in 2024, we hope that the next generation of comedians can avoid the exploitation of a network that has no show without them. But you heard from us, now we want to hear from you. What do you think? Do you agree with the $150 fee for comedians was fair? Did they do the right thing by protesting? Let us know in the comments below. For Comedy Hype News, I'm Terrence Sims.